told me a story that fascinated me about the rabbis and the gold dust.
Oh, I love that. I had finished walking Jerusalem, every street of the old city and the new city of Jerusalem for 13 days and nights, and praying over Jerusalem. The Lord sent me to do that in 1989. I finished out on Bethlehem Road, and I ran out of water. Liberty Bell Park is out there. And so I went to the fountain. Oh, man, you know what the Lord says about lukewarm water. Lukewarm, whoa. And so here was an Arab. He had a little on wheels stand, and it had a beautiful picture of Coca-Cola. This is no commercial Coca-Cola, okay? But iced glass of Coca-Cola, and that's what I want. I throw my shekels down, and I point at the picture. I can't speak his language. And he pushes me a warm can of 7-Up, and I get it, and it's warm, and I push it back, and I said, no, Coca-Cola, ice cold, ice. Pushes that back and turns his back on me. I am so dry, I've got to have some liquid. So I walk away, pop that thing open, and take a mouthful. I shouldn't have done that. I think it came out of my ears and my nose. It exploded in my dry mouth because I was spitting cotton. And so I took the rest of that can when I got done coughing, and where he saw me, I dumped it out. I didn't ask God to forgive that Arab. I'm sorry. I went over and stretched out on the park bench, trying to cool off. I was hot. And all of a sudden, I'm just sitting there with my eyes closed. Somebody sits down on the end of the bench and hits my fingers. I look, and it's a rabbi with a long gray beard. And they didn't want to speak to me. I was a Gentile. I'd learned that in those 13 days. And so I didn't try to strike up a conversation. I noticed a young lady with about a 4-year-old was swinging. I figured it was his granddaughter and daughter. And so I just pulled my arm away, and I'm just sitting. And then he says, he's got his back to me. He's sitting on the edge of the chair with his arm up on the back of it, with his back to me. And finally he says, "Are you here on tour?" And I says, "No, I'm here on business." He said, "Would I be nosy if I ask your business?" And he still got his back to me. I says, "No, sir, you wouldn't." I said, "I have just finished walking every street of the old city and the new city, praying for the peace of Jerusalem." He spins around, he looks at me, and he says, "But you're a Gentile. Why would you pray for the peace of Jerusalem?" And I said, "Not only am I Gentile, sir, but I said, I am a Christian. And I believe Jesus Christ is my Messiah. I'm sorry you don't." He says, yeah, I know all about that. I was rabbi in New York. They're always trying to convert me. He says, "You have any family?" And I told him how many children. He says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I told you, praying for the peace of Jerusalem." And he says, "You know how many children you got? You know what that means in the ancient Hebrew?" I says, "No." I says, "Well, it means that I got a baker's dozen. I got 13. I got a baker's dozen. And my quiver's full." He says, "You know what that means in the ancient Hebrew?" I says, "No, I'm interested." Now he's talking to me. He says, "In the ancient Hebrew, you have 12 arrows in the quiver. You have one in your bow. You're ready for war, young man." I said, "Yeah, I'll take it, And the daughter looked over at me because I thought maybe we were getting into a fight, I guess. And I says, "Hey, there's something going on in America now, here in 1989. I've heard of it, and I've only been in one church where it's happening. Gold is falling from heaven while we're worshiping Jesus." And it was the first he stuttered. He starts stuttering. "Gold? I mean, you mean real gold? Where is it coming from? It's just falling through the ceiling, coming down. A church in West Virginia, they told me, so much fell, they swept it up and paid off the mortgage." He says, "Gold, real gold." I says, that gold, they said, was 99.9% pure gold." And he just goes kind of in shock. "Gold is falling on the Gentiles. Gold is falling on the Gentiles." I said, "Wow, that must really mean something to you." Oh, yes. He says, "In the ancient Hebrew, before the bridegroom comes to take his bride, he always sends her a gift of gold by midnight." He said, "It means the Messiah is coming. The Messiah is coming."